Hi everybody, welcome to the second episode, part B, continuous of the Anatomy and Physiology series. My name is Ridhi Sreenivas, and today we're going to be talking about fluid connective tissues and supporting connective tissues. So if you haven't checked out the second episode, part B, I would definitely recommend that because that is when we talk about connective tissues in general and their characteristics that we look at. So I'm going to link that in the comments down below, but let's get right into it. So first we can talk about fluid connective tissues. So fluid connective tissues are called fluid because their ground substance is a liquid, which is different from a normal ground substance in a connective tissue because ground substance is usually a gel-like texture, but in fluid connective tissues, their ground substance is a liquid and they have cells that are freely suspended into the fluid and they're not fixed. And due to this fluid nature, the tissues in this category generally have the functions to transport nutrients and support defense responses. And two types of fluid connective tissues we're going to be looking at today are blood and lymph. Okay, so let's get right to it. So first we have blood, which has this fluid ground substance called plasma, which contains blood cells and cell fragments called formed elements. And formed elements consist of these three main cells being red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. But one thing about this tissue is its fibers aren't normally visible until fibrin fibers appear in times of need for clotting. But the traditional collagen, elastic, and reticular fibers aren't directly in both blood and lymph. Just keep that in mind. And so due to its fluid nature, as we kind of talked about in general, it has the ability to transport nutrients and hormones to wherever they need to go. And due to having white blood cells, which are known for fighting infection, so blood can help with the immune defense responses and clotting. And they can also help in regulation for temperature regulation or pH balance as well. And blood can be found flowing through or in your heart, capillaries, arteries, and veins. So next we have lymph, which has a liquid matrix that has water, white blood cells, proteins, and fats, and its fibers, like blood, aren't normally visible until they're needed for clotting, and they don't have those traditional fibers that we talked about that connective tissues usually have. So that's interesting to keep in mind. And due to containing white blood cells, lymph contributes to immune defense and also works in balancing fluids, preventing excess interstitial fluid in the bloodstream. And lymph is found in lymphatic vessels and lymph nodes, basically throughout the lymphatic system. Now we're going to talk about supporting connective tissues, and they're called supporting because their main functions are to provide structural support and strength due to its firm matrix. And there are two types that we're going to be talking about: cartilage and bones. Okay, so let's first look at cartilage. So cartilage is composed of a firm gel matrix with chondrocytes, which are cartilage cells. And cartilage is also avascular, meaning it does not have a blood supply, a direct blood supply, and has to get its nutrients from another source that has a blood supply. And cartilage tends to be strong yet flexible in general, but those properties of cartilage depend on the amount of proteoglycans and types and amounts of extracellular fibers. So we're going to talk about there are actually three types of cartilage. So we have them categorized into hyaline, elastic, and fibrocartilage. And so let's look at all of them. So first we have hyaline cartilage, which is the most common type of cartilage. It is composed of packed collagen fibers, making hyaline cartilage tough yet flexible, and its functions are to provide support and reduce friction. In some places it is found is in the nose, ends of bones where they're called articular cartilage, the trachea, and costal cartilages that connect ribs to the breastbone, also known as the sternum, and more places. Next, we have elastic cartilage, which, as the name suggests, it is composed of elastic fibers, which give this tissue a resilient and flexible nature. And mainly its function is to provide support and shape while still allowing flexibility. And it is mainly found in the outer ear epiglottis and larynx. Next is the fibrocartilage, which has these densely packed collagen fibers and has a little bit of ground substance, making it the strongest and most durable type of cartilage. And due to its durability, it helps resist compression and acts as a shock absorber, and is found between vertebrae of the spine known as intervertebral discs. It's in between the two pelvic bones known as the pubic symphysis, and another example is it's the meniscus of the in the knee, and etc. And finally, we're going to look at bones, which have a matrix that consists of primarily calcium phosphate, which gives bones its rigidness, with some calcium carbonate as well, and collagen fibers as well. And these collagen fibers kind of give the bone its somewhat flexible properties while still being strong. And its matrix also contains cells called osteocytes, osteoblasts, and osteoclasts. Osteocytes are the main bone cells that just maintain the environment. Osteoblasts build bone, and osteoclasts break down bone. And bones are vascular, meaning they have a blood supply in their network to receive nutrients more efficiently. And there are two types of bone tissue, compact and spongy. So, compact bone is more dense and strong, found on the outer layer of bones for protection, and spongy bone is more lightweight and contains a lot of holes, kind of looking like a sponge, and is found inside bones. And they contain red bone marrow for blood cell production. And bone's main functions are to protect organs, help with movement and coordination with muscles, produce blood cells, store minerals, and give a structural framework to the body. And bone tissue is found in all bones in the body, and some examples of that are like the femur, also known as the thigh bone, the scapula, also known as the shoulder blade, and vertebrae, which make your spine, and more. And so that is the end of this video where we went through fluid connective tissues and supporting connective tissues. And if there are any questions or things you are specifically curious about this type of tissue, then please feel free to comment those down below and we can definitely discuss them at a later time or whenever. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video and stay tuned for future videos.